Guitar tips, just the tips, just for you. Guitar tips. Hello and welcome. Welcome to Guitar Tips. My name is Adam Levy. If you are a regular viewer here, even better if you're a subscriber. You may notice that I'm in a different place. I'm in the kitchen here of a studio in Stamford, Connecticut called the Carriage House. It's a great studio. I just made 2 records here back to back with playing guitar for 2 different artists. A guy named Dan Brenner and a gal named Carolyn Savoy. I'll put some links down below. You can check them out at your leisure. So I'm a little bit fried. I feel like my voice is, even though I wasn't singing, I still feel like my voice is a little bit fried, and calluses are good and hard. I don't know if you can see those. Here's a up close shot of the calluses. But anyway, I'm just saying this by way of apology if I seem a little low energy today. I'm not sick or sad or anything. I'm just a little worn out from making so much music. Anyway, that little intro, the Guitar Tips intro this week was based on Julia by the Beatles. If you never learned it, it's pretty fun to play. I don't know, I'm probably playing it wrong right now, but anyway, check it out. It's a nice little finger picking workout. Easy, actually not that easy. It's a tricky little thing. There's some hard chords, and your right hand's just gotta be just really spot on. So if you're looking for a finger picking guitar tip, here it is. Learn Julia by the Beatles. Okay, but that's not this week's guitar tip. Oh no, we've got a whole other thing to talk about this week. I'm going to pick up where I left off last week. The previous tip was don't play the bar lines. And what I meant by that in the previous episode had to do with playing rhythm guitar, so that if you're playing, let's say, 2 bars of C, 2 bars of F, and back to C again. So here's 2 bars of C. So that was, you could say, a 5-bar phrase. A lot of musical phrases tend to be longer than that. They could be 8 bars or 12 or 10 or 16 or some other number. That would be the length of a verse or a chorus or something like that. And what that tip was about was not being so obvious with the bar, as the bar lines occur, to kind of practice playing over them sometimes, so that you're not thinking in 1-bar phrases, but you're actually thinking in longer arcs and thinking about, thinking about each section as a phrase that has kind of a natural shape to it, and take a deep breath and play that whole phrase. I don't mean literally that you should only breathe once every 16 bars, but just feel that in your body, as opposed to just feeling little 1-bar chunks. Because if you look at a chord chart for a song, it appears as if music is a whole bunch of 1-bar chunks strung together, and largely that is not how music is made. So that was the rhythmic aspect. I was really thinking about that because, as I said, I'm in the middle of 2 recording sessions now finished, and I'm playing a lot of rhythm guitar. So that's one thing. But in this week's episode, I want to revisit Don't Play the Bar Lines. So this is Don't Play the Bar Lines Part 2, Melody. Anybody who has studied guitar and studied improvisation and studied scales and arpeggios and whatnot, that's great. It's good to study all that stuff. But the danger is that we get the idea that if you have 2 bars of C, well, let's make it shorter, just so I can kind of focus the point. Let's say you have a bar of C and a bar of F and then back to C. We tend to think, especially those of us who have been schooled or tutored or what have you, that the stuff we play over C is just the C stuff, and then over F we have some other stuff to play, and then we go back again. And this is even more true in a jazz situation where those 2 chords might be a little more less obviously connected. Maybe you might have another chord that's, you know, A flat and back to C. So maybe we'll get to that in a minute. But let's just start with C, F, C, because whatever style of music you play, that might be a chord change that you would encounter. So don't play the bar lines when playing melodically. I guess, let's see, if we play 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know if you could hear that, but I'm thinking in my mind, I don't have a pre-recorded rhythm track, so you just have to imagine it or play along. 2, 3, 4. So this is what's going on in my head. So melodically, I'm going to think about a C scale for the first bar, and either you know, an F Lydian scale or F major pentatonic, or just up the arpeggio with, you know, maybe 1 extra chord tone or scale tone in there. But basically C stuff, F stuff, C stuff. So melodically that could sound like this. Okay, or it could sound like this. 2, 3, 4. So for sure, it's good to practice melodies where you really nail the chord changes, because that's sometimes that's what's called for. But if you want to get into more creative phrasing and more a more kind of elastic feel, you might practice. This is where "Don't Play the Bar Lines" comes in. Practice not being so obvious with the change. So in my mind now, I'm going to try to get to that F chord on the 3rd beat of the first bar. So in my mind now, it's going to be C, 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 F, 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 C. Even though whoever else I'm playing with doesn't need to know that, they're still going to play the changes in the normal place. And again, if you want to jam along, that may help this make more sense if you have your guitar handy. Okay, I'm going to change to F on beat 3 of the first bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll try that again. 2, 3, 4. One, two, three, 4. All right. So you could move it later. You could move it even earlier. You could change on beat 2 or the and of 2. You imagine it's just like a little bead in an abacus, and you can move it wherever you want. And in doing so, it will give some new possibilities to your melodies. And as I said a minute ago, if you're into jazz or just, you know, creative music, there's 11 places you can go that aren't C. In other words, there's 12 different keys in music, and if you want to practice modulating, you could practice a bar of C, a bar of F, a bar of C. It could be a bar of C, a bar of F sharp, bar of C, bar of G, bar of C, bar of G, etc. You could practice all the different possibilities. I guess if you just go from C to C, there's no modulation, so that's why there's 11 possibilities. And you know, it doesn't always have to be literally C, F, C. If you played C, B flat major 7, C, you could in your mind think of that B flat major 7 as a Lydian chord, and so it's still modulating to the key of F. that's the 4 chord in the key of F. And if that's too obscure or jazzy for you, you can not worry too much about that part. But if you are into harmony and improv and that kind of stuff, just you could make a whole game of this, and it doesn't have to just be 1 bar. It could be 2 bars or 4 bars to practice going back and forth between tonalities. But again, this is that's just something you could work on. You could do that with this tip. You could also just work on that on your own. That's actually something I got from one of my colleagues at Los Angeles College of Music, Dave Hill. He has an exercise like that. I thought it was pretty cool, so I'm sharing it here. But again, the main idea here has to do with in your own mind where you change. So experiment, record yourself playing rhythm, and then in your mind, decide in advance where you want to change to the new chord, whether it's right on beat 1 or a little early, like on beat 4, or a little late on beat 2 of the next bar. You could the change could be on an offbeat, like the and of 1, or some in some syncopated place having to do with 16th notes or triplets or whatever. You can get as creative as you want with it, but the main idea is to get away from just going. You want to get a little more elastic and start to play phrases that cross the bar line. That could happen in a 2-bar phrase, 4-bar phrase, etc., etc. So that's this week's tip. Don't play the bar lines, part 2. Thanks. That's the end. That's the end of the guitar tip. I'm Adam Levy. Please subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. And I also hope that you will share this tip or the whole channel, or any tips that you happen to like in particular. You can share them with anybody that you think would get something out of them. Okay, from Stamford, Connecticut, for guitar tips, this is Adam Levy. Stay tuned and take good care.